everybody, it's Kyle. Woo! Bright and shiny, early weekend. All weekend, really, but I am coming to you on Sunday from my vehicle, as you can hear. And I made a road trip. I was kind of looking to find, maybe a couple-year-old gaming laptop. And I really like the ASUS ROG or Republic of Gamers pieces or systems. I am interested in some of the new HP or Hewlett-Packard, what are they called? Pavilion, the green acid color of the logo and some of the highlights and stuff. I'm interested in those as well, but I kind of like the ASUS ones more. The ROG ones are really nice, and they typically, if you go a few years back, you can get some pretty good deals. Not as good of a deal as I got this morning, but a good deal nonetheless. The very newest one they have, which is the Zephyrus G14, I really got major wants for that one. But that sucker's going to run about $2,000 right now. And it has the new, a new higher end ASUS mobile AMD Ryzen mobile processor. And it's the one that has the built-in Vega graphics. That one looks great. And then it also has a video card too, but I've seen tests that they've done with that system where they've disabled the graphics card and just gone with the built-on graphics, and it's pretty kick-ass, man. All the way up to, Halo Infinite, over 100 frames a second in 1080p in Ultra, just off the built-in GPU on these new AMD processors. So things have changed. Things are changing big time. I mean, don't get me wrong, video cards are still great, and it's kind of hard to beat a really good processor paired with a video card and some good RAM. However, it comes awful close now. And then I don't know how much you guys have heard about the new Mac M1 Ultra. But basically what that is they took two of the M1 processors, their own silicon that they're making, and those have built-in GPUs, and they've basically, I don't want to say glued, but they've paired two of those together, connected two of those to make one big processor. And I want to say it's something crazy like, 48 core GPU, something crazy like that. And I don't even remember the cores for the main processor, but I want to say you can get 64 core processor on that thing or something like that with the M1 Ultra. I can only imagine what the M2 is going to be like, but that new M1 Ultra, it comes in that new Mac Studio, which is kind of like a higher end Mac Mini, but it's actually really more like the guts of a high-end iMac Pro, but there's no screen, no keyboard, no mouse, so you're just buying the base unit. So it's a little bit cheaper that way, but then you're going to have to get all the accoutrement for that. So, and if I was building out a Mac, I probably would want to go ahead and get, the Apple branded keyboard and mouse. I really don't give a shit on monitors. Dude, I'd go out and buy the baddest ass 4K or higher monitor made by somebody else. I don't have to have an Apple monitor. They have a new one called the Studio Display. The speakers and stuff look great, but it looks pretty weak to me, and they're asking way too much for it. Apple monitors are kind of ridiculous. I mean, if I were to buy one that came like with my Mac Pro that I have at home, if I were to buy one of those now, it would not be such a big deal because those are way down in price. But the brand new ones are absurd. So anyway, I don't even know how I got on that whole stuff. Oh, I was talking about the AMD processor. So now we really have three main processor manufacturers as far as computers go in the United States. We got Intel and their new their new i9 12900s. Those things are crazy too, and they have built-in GPUs as well, and they're pretty powerful. Not quite where AMD Ryzen chips are, but good nonetheless. But yeah, that new ASUS ROG, it's a Zephyrus, the new Zephyrus. It's incredible looking, man. It's like I don't even know how to explain it, but it looks like it's built not quite as well as a MacBook Pro, but still amazing nonetheless. And on the back of the screen, when you flip the screen up to use the computer, on the back of it, it has like this LED lighting panel, and you can change all the stuff on there to whatever, you want to put your name or a QR code or just the ASUS ROG logo, or whatever. It doesn't matter what you want to do, but it's a pixel display, which is pretty slick. So now let's get to the one that I picked up and some of the other ones I looked at. So looking at the ASUS ROG Zephyrus from like the last year or two before this new one, last year's are still going pretty high. I actually came really close to buying one, and it was from a guy in Oklahoma, so I really would have been driving. I would have been driving basically double what I did today. But that one, he had it down to such a crazy price, and I was still trying to work him down a little, but he already had somebody set up and he sold it, so I didn't have a chance. But it was like a previous version of the same computer that I'm talking about, that Zephyrus, with the LED pixel panel. So I was pretty excited about that, and it was about, I want to say, like $650 or something that he was asking for it, which is great, Looked like it was in great condition, all that stuff, and he was out in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. So here's the deal on this. If you're looking for a full system or something like that, I probably wouldn't drive that far for like a video card, but I don't know. It depends. Video GPUs are kind of hard to come by right now, but a full system, whether it be desktop or laptop, if you're looking for something like that, be sure on Facebook Marketplace especially to extend your search area out. And the reason why is exactly what happened to me this morning, okay? And what was going to happen with that ROG from last year. You're going to find better deals. And the big reason you're going to find better deals is because when people live further out from major metropolitan areas, they don't have anybody to sell these things to. And when somebody owns a system like that, a higher end system, they're like, they probably stick out like a sore thumb compared to other people around them where they're living as far as systems go. A lot of other people aren't going to have a high-powered system like that. Most people just go to Walmart or Target or Best Buy and go buy a computer, or maybe they buy one on Amazon that's recommended through Amazon. And those systems generally are not the higher-end good systems, especially when it comes to gaming stuff, but also when it comes to content creation stuff, okay? So, like I said, I was looking real hard at that one, and I think it was Owasso, Oklahoma, okay? So it was about as far as like, it wouldn't have been double this. It would have been, maybe 150% of what I'm driving today. So, not the same as me going back and forth to St. Louis, or going down to St. Louis, getting a system and then coming back. About that distance, or going up to Omaha, getting the system and coming back. So, and I've looked at all those places as well, guys. Anyway, so what's the deal? Well, I had a hankering for a gaming system. I want to play some of the games that are out right now. I'm interested in Elden Ring. My son's been playing it on his Xbox Series X in 4K, and he loves it. It'll run on the system that I got today. Not in super high, ultra resolution, but in good enough resolution for me to play it and enjoy it. So I'm interested in playing that, and I'm interested in maybe a couple other games that are out there. I did buy a few for the whole building gaming systems deal that I was going through there. So I have them in my Steam account. And then I'm still really looking hard. I've already put a deposit down for the Steam Deck. But my understanding is that mine says after Q3, so after the third quarter of this year is when I would be able to order that Steam Deck. And from my understanding, I'm probably looking more at 2023 for when I'll actually get my hands on it. That's how far out they are sold on these things. So I just wanted something that's going to kind of buffer that time in between. But I wanted something that if I decide to, I could turn around and sell and get basically all the money that I need to buy the Steam Deck, which is exactly what I picked up today. Okay. I found this guy, and it was just outside of Springfield, Missouri. So a couple hours away. I got up at 5 a.m. this morning on Sunday and drove down here and met him. He's the only owner of this system before me. It is an ASUS ROG laptop. It's the design before the ones that I'm talking about. It does have LED on the back, lid, and LED on the keyboard and all that stuff. I think it's all red, though. I don't think it's changeable, other than brightness and being able to turn it off. But, other than that, I mean, the monitor or the built-in display on it is 120 hertz, I believe. It has a 4-core, 8-thread processor, an i7 from the past. Yes, it doesn't have a 12th or even a 10th generation one, but it does have a 6 gigabyte 1060 video card in it, which is interesting because I did sell my second system. I'm meeting the guy today at the library near where I live, and he's buying that computer, not for as much as I wanted to sell it for, but I'm still going to make about $175 or so, which is fine. To be honest with you, now I just want to sell it and get it out of there. But the video card on that system is an earlier version of the video card in this laptop, okay? This laptop's actually a little faster. I believe the RAM on the video card's faster, if I remember correctly, the VRAM. So I got that system. It has a boot drive, an NVMe boot drive. I think it's 256 or it might be 128. It doesn't matter. It's replaceable. It'll probably be replaced. And then it has a spinning drive too, a little 2.5 inch spinning drive that's a terabyte. But, I'm not going to use that thing. I'm going to yank that. I'm going to put in the test drive that I bought that I was going to be using to build systems. I'm going to put that sucker in there. So basically I'll have 2 SSDs. Now granted, that 2.5 inch SSD that I have is only 512 gigabytes, but that's fine. I'm not a huge gamer, so it doesn't matter to me. And I may try to do a little video editing on this system as well, because it is pretty powerful. But for that, I will get an external, I think this is Thunderbolt 3 on this system as well. I'll get an external Thunderbolt 3 drive, or build one, basically. So I can save a lot of money doing that. And it'll be more than fast enough to handle what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's a great little system, man. And it's in great shape. Of course, the charger and all that stuff comes with it. But it's in really good shape. It's a nice system. Got it for $350. Okay? I mean, if you go look for it, you might find some broken ones for that much. Meaning, they're missing parts of the keyboard. Now, you can go buy those pieces and fix them, or maybe it's got a crack in the screen or heavy scratches on the outside of it. A lot of problems. This one doesn't have any of that. The only thing on this one is inside on the palm rest where the trackpad is, in that area, and it has, of course, all the, Intel inside, or, stickers and all that jazz. It has a kind of a discoloring where he had a sticker sitting there on that area. So I'll probably just what I'll probably do is buy some nice padded skin action that goes on there, and so that when my palms are resting on it, I'm not wearing on the actual system. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm sure somebody sells that somewhere. But yeah, man, I'm jazzed. I'm going to play some games on this sucker, and that'll keep me busy for a few months going into probably pretty close to this time next year when I'll get that actual Steam Deck, I'm guessing. All right? But yeah, that's what happened. So there's my good things that are happening to me version. Very long, 15 minutes already, me going on and on about computers. Hopefully, this system will settle me down for long enough, and I will find some games and stuff that I'm interested in enough to hold me off and keep me occupied in my spare time all the way up until this, the Steam Deck comes around. That's what I'm looking for. Who knows, man? I could find something else I'm totally interested in before then. I have no idea, dude. I do kind of have a problem when it comes to buying things. I'll totally admit that. And it's interesting because I was exhausted when I woke up this morning. And the big reason why is because I had to wake up crazy early yesterday morning. Because I had to take my boy, Chris, my son, he left to go to Orlando with band and choir for high school for this week, at least through like Wednesday, I think, real late. But anyway, we had to get up at about the same time yesterday for me to get him up there. Not quite as early as today. But yeah, for me to get him over there and get him on his way, give him a hug, tell him goodbye, all that stuff. So it was an early morning yesterday too. And my stepdaughter, who's staying with us temporarily, I believe until the end of this month, but she was working an overnight shift somewhere and got kind of stuck somewhere. Her ride kind of screwed her over and kind of abandoned her, really. Which kind of sucked because it was in the middle of nowhere in downtown Kansas City. But long story short, my wife got up and went and got her. But I was wide awake when that happened. I couldn't go back to sleep. I was worried about my wife driving down there. I offered several times. She wouldn't let me go get her because it was early or late. So I think yesterday I got up about 4:45 technically in the morning. Went and took him to the airport, did all that stuff, got back home, chilled out for a little bit. I couldn't fall asleep. I was awake. I was too busy looking up these fucking laptops, really, I'll be honest with you, because I got a problem, an addiction to technology. And then my daughter, Audrey, woke up and she was wanting to maybe go do a little thrifting. And I'll tell you about that in a second, too. Found something pretty cool. And then, go have lunch or whatever. So she and I went and did that. And we got back and probably I might have gotten a little 45-minute nap or so before my wife got home. My wife had to get up and go down to a funeral about where I'm at right now. And she had to take her mom and her sister all the way down here and go to this funeral deal all day and then drive all the way back. So she got home a little bit after that. And then it was time for me to take my stepdaughter to work again. So it was a very busy day, a very long day yesterday. I was very tired. And to reward myself for that, I got up at 5 this morning and drove down here to pick up this computer like a dork. And I'm heading back right now. I think my wife's got a massage here in about an hour. She does that at least once a month, maybe once every 3 weeks, which is good for her. She definitely needs that. And then we're going to go see one of our granddaughters and visit with her for about an hour and everything. And that should be about it, man. I'm hoping that's about it for the day. Because I would really like to get a nap in this afternoon. And, of course, I want to dick around with this system. Oh, and at 4:30 p.m. today, I got to go to the library near me and bring that computer because that guy's coming to buy it. So we picked a library. I always pick public places. I just met this guy for this laptop at a place called Come and Go. It's kind of a big deal in southern Missouri anyway. And I think it goes into Arkansas, but it's like a quick trip. But it's really spelled weird. It's K-U-M and then ampersand go. But I've gotten used to it. They're actually pretty great stores. I like them a little better than Quick Trip. Don't tell Quick Trip I said that. But anyway, I met him at one of those, and he was real nice, man. He's in the military. Nice dude, about my same age. Nice guy. Again, very friendly. He was very happy to see that it's going somewhere. People who love technology and who love things that they buy, they love to see that someone that's going to take care of it and someone who cares is going to buy it. And I don't know why that is, but we grow attached to our things. Like even me building these computers, it was so good for me to see the boy whose mom bought that first one. And I haven't heard back from her, but I may be building a second one for her. I asked her. She's looking into it. She'll let me know. But other than that, I'm not going to be building computers anymore, man. It's just the wheeling and dealing part of it sucks. I'll be honest with you. I like farting around and trying to get the parts, and working with people because they've been so great. They've been so nice. Yeah, here, you want to buy this motherboard? Sure, I'm going to throw in a processor that's worth $150 with it for free. That's what's happened to me twice now, okay? So people have been great to deal with in that respect, and I love that. And then I've told you guys a story about the guy who gave me the free power supply that's worth like $70 or $80 also. So there's good people out there, and I don't mind dealing with them. The people that are hard to deal with are on the back end when you're trying to sell it, okay? Which I understand. You want to get a deal, just like I got a deal on this. I mean, I only talked this guy down $25 from he wanted $375. I knew that was a great deal, but I said, hey, I'll bring you $350 cash, and he was like, yeah, that's great. But he wanted to meet at 8 a.m., which, since it was over 2.5 hours away, kind of sucked, but that's okay. That's why I have a hybrid, man. It goes a long way on a tank of gas. I mean, I'll get home and still have well over, and I probably had 3/4 of a tank. I'll still have 1/4 of a tank easily, probably one notch over that. This thing gets like, I want to say like 50 some miles to the gallon, maybe high 40s on the highway. So when you're doing a long drive like this, it really does quite well, which is amazing for a 2013 vehicle. So 10 years old now, pretty much, with 112,000 miles on it. It does really well, man. I'm just talking about everything, guys. I'm so sorry. But anyway, I'm exhausted. This is a long weekend. I've got good feelings about this week coming up. There's going to be some good stuff going on. I'm going to take a break real quick because I've already been talking like 24 minutes. And I'm going to come back, talk about a few other things, and then I want to talk about things that I'm into and wrap this sucker up. So let me throw it over to Kyle. Hey, Kyle. All right, and we're back. Let me cover a couple other quick things before I carry on, okay? One real big one that I want to talk about. I did not bring my Zoom recorder with me, which really pisses me off. I meant to grab it this morning, but I was so fucking tired when I woke up. I probably got a little over 4 hours of sleep, right? And the night before, I probably got like 5.5, maybe 6. Probably more 5.5. I don't know. I'll have to look at the sleep app on my phone and watch and see where it is. But less than 10 hours for both nights, which is crazy. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not good for any stage of life. And as you get older, you can sleep less. But I want to say you can sleep 7 hours or less per night. But at my age, I'm supposed to be getting 8.5 hours of sleep. I might get 7.5 on a good night, maybe 8. But on the weekends, I usually try and make up by an extra half hour to an hour. Haven't been doing that lately. So, what was I talking about there? Oh, so I was totally foggy-headed and tired. And it was very dark, too, with daylight savings time. I just didn't even think about it. So I left my recorder there, which sucks. But that's okay. Phone does a good job, and when I do the noise removal and stuff, it'll sound fine. Good enough. You guys have never complained about it, so if you do want to complain, go for it. Let me know, and I'll always make sure to record it, sounding as good as last week's episode did, the special report. Okay, so there's that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something really cool happened this last week in therapy. I go see a therapist about every 3 weeks or so, 3 weeks to a month. But the therapist I've been working with, and this is all online, right? So telehealth type thing. But the one I've been working with, she's been so good. And the cool thing about her is I told her right from the beginning, look, it is very therapeutic for me to come on here and just spill my guts and talk about what's bugging me and shit like that, right? But that's not what I'm in therapy for. What I'm in therapy for is I want to figure out ways to combat oncoming depression, or as I like to call it, if you guys remember, portrait mode. That's right. I have a mean name for my depression when it starts coming on. That is portrait mode. The reason I call it portrait mode is because that's a mode that you shoot video and or photographs on your phone in, and it's okay to shoot photographs sometimes in portrait mode. I mean, there are some apps that exclusively use video and photos in portrait mode. Those are like Instagram and like, you know, if you have Instagram stories or Snapchat or even TikTok, those are all portrait, okay? The problem with that is it does not translate over to viewing very well unless you're viewing on a phone. And even if you're viewing on a phone, it still sucks. You're still missing more than 60% of the image of what's going on. No one's ever going to be able to sell me otherwise on that because it's not true. Go look at your television right now. What shape is that in? Is it shaped, it's a rectangle, right? But is it short end on the bottom and on the top? Or is it short end on the sides? It's short end on the fucking sides, guys. And the reason for that is because that's how movie screens were shaped, right? Forever we had almost square televisions. Even still, they were a little bit, you know, wider than they were tall, right? They were 4x3 is what it was. New TVs are 16x9, okay? So 16 parts across, 9 parts up to down, okay? So widescreen. So when you shoot video and you're going to show it later on TV or on YouTube, shoot it in landscape mode, guys. If you're shooting photographs, shoot it in landscape mode. Get your subject back a little further. Crop it in if you're going to put it on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook stories, okay? But I hate portrait mode. I hate it. I don't ever shoot in it. I might shoot photographs that way sometimes. I do know on my Samsung Galaxy Flip 3 that it has a mode where I can close the phone and I can still, shoot a picture without even opening the phone by just holding up my palm if I have it. And it has the viewfinder, I can see where we're at. I shot a picture the other night with my wife and I that way. So I get the idea of pictures not all being widescreen. I totally understand that. But I'm just saying, I hate portrait mode. And one big reason is I'm a videographer and I edit video mostly in my job. And so one of the biggest bummers of all is when there's some big video that I have to make and they're like, okay, somebody in the field's going to shoot the video, or do you have any suggestions for them? Yes, please turn your phone, because they're going to shoot it with their phone, right? Yeah, okay. Please turn your phone landscape mode to shoot the video. And they don't, and they send it to me in portrait mode. So that basically what I have at the end is, really not great video. Number one, I can't crop in really at all. Number two, it doesn't occupy the whole screen in our learning management system. There's a time and a place for everything. And when you're shooting a video that's a real production and a real piece of work and stuff, you don't shoot with your phone in portrait mode, okay? You really don't shoot with your phone at all. But that's a whole other ball wax. I really went off on portrait mode there. That's why portrait mode is the nasty name for my depression, when I can feel it coming on. So if I'm feeling it coming on, or my wife notices that, oh boy, I think he's starting to get there, she'll ask me, what's going on? Or, is it portrait mode? Are you going into portrait mode? And I'll say, yeah, or no, I'm fine. Or I can tell her, hey, looks like I'm in portrait mode right now. And she'll understand that, and we communicate that without... When you give it a name like that, you discount what it is, all right? You own up to it, you look at it and everything, and you face it, but you realize it's just this. Whereas if you say, I feel major depression coming on, you're really giving it a lot more power, right? So that's one of the first things my therapist taught me, and I love it, okay? So, that was the first tool she gave me when I asked for some tools to help battle this, right? Now she's given me a whole other set of tools, Another one she did give me was, I was having problems. I was waking up in the middle of the night and having bad thoughts, or worrying too much about stuff, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And the big thing she told me there was, think about a smoke detector going off in your house, okay? If you wake up, do you just hear the smoke detector boop, boop, over and over again, and then just roll over and go back to sleep? No. You have to acknowledge it, right? You have to get up, go find it, pull out the battery, replace the battery if you have another one, but if not, we typically don't have 9-volt batteries laying around, do we, anymore? And for some reason, smoke detectors are still 9-volt batteries. So you go take the battery out, it stops chirping. Now, here's the other question. In addition to acknowledging it and disabling it temporarily, or, replacing the battery, what else do you do? Do you let it continue to go and sit underneath it and just sit there the rest of the night so that everybody's safe and there's no fire? Or do you take the battery out and then sit below it and take the place of the smoke detector and just sit around and guard the house? No. You go back to sleep, because there's really, short of driving to a store in the middle of the night and buying a 9-volt battery, which is, kind of crazy, if you can even find a store that sells them in the middle of the night, there's not much you can do about it. You just have to make a note to yourself to get it the next day or so. So you have to acknowledge things and these feelings and stuff when they come on, and then you have to ask yourself this: is there something I can do about this right now? Okay? And typically, your answer is going to be no. No, there isn't something I can do right now. Okay? And then you're going to ask yourself, if you go to no, then it's like, is there something that you can do about this tomorrow? Maybe. I guess I can go to the store and get a 9-volt battery, right? Or you might ask yourself, is there something I can do about this at all? So imagine that it's a smoke detector that doesn't take a battery and it's wired into your house. We have a few of those. If that one started chirping, I don't know what the hell I'd do. I guess disconnect the wires and then tape them up. I don't know. But I wouldn't know what to do about it at that time. Probably replace the smoke detector, which is something you're not going to be able to do in the middle of the night, more than likely. I guess maybe Walmart's open 24 hours a day. You might be able to buy a smoke detector there, but probably not a hardwired one. You're probably going to only get a battery one. So, no, there's really nothing you can do at that time, and probably the soonest you'll be able to do anything about it is the next day. So you might as well go back to sleep, right? And that's the same thing for these, I guess they are kind of panic attacks, or it's more anxiety type thing, spurred by depression. So there's really, you just have to acknowledge it, acknowledge the fact that there's really not much you can do about it right now, but you're going to do something when you're able to again. And there you go. Then you can go back to sleep. So she taught me that as well, and it's been really awesome. It's actually pretty much vanquished that whole waking up in the middle of the night and then being awake from 3 a.m. on, okay? Unless I'm worried about, someone being somewhere or something highly unusual is going on, okay? Then I can go back to sleep. So now the newest tool she gave me. This one's the best one yet. This is the breakthrough in therapy that I've been waiting for forever. 30 years, 25 years. All right, here it is. One of my biggest issues that I have, and what keeps me continuing internally to get angry and build up anger and hatred and rage and all that stuff and hold grudges, what makes that happen is toxic shame. You'd be like, toxic shame? But Kyle, you're perfect. What could you be ashamed of? Nah, I'm just joking. Yeah, no, toxic shame, that's not necessarily what it is. There is that aspect of it, but what it is shame that is basically uncontrollable. Shame for the sake of making one feel bad. Self-shame just for the sole purpose of making you feel bad about yourself, right? So what that comes from, for me, is a sense of shame for my father's actions when he was just 35 years old and leading up to that. And here's the thing about it too, guys. It is kind of hereditary because it's taught. It is taught unintentionally. I mean, people don't generally try to teach you to make yourself feel bad about that shit that they did when you get older, right? But unintentionally, it can be taught to you. So we take that deal with my dad, right? Yeah, I can tell you that. I can tell you growing up, I can tell you exact instances where I was ashamed of my situation, being in that my father had died far too young from drinking, basically, and the shame of the fact that I ran away from that house, instead of toughing it out and staying with him and possibly saving his life that night, right? Because here's the thing. Here's a realistic thing on that. He would have done it later. He had a lot of self-hatred and a lot of anger and a lot of issues, and he was going to find a way to make that happen. What happened? All right? There's no two ways about it. So I had to get past that. There's no point in me feeling ashamed that I left him alone there, right? Because he left me alone here, right? Not that it's tit for tat. Not that it's two wrongs make a right. I'm just saying, the point is that he was going to do that no matter what I did, because he suffered from this toxic shame also. In addition to that, my mom still suffers from it now, and I suffer from it from being around her and the way she grew up and the way my aunt and uncle and my mom grew up around brazen alcoholism, verbal abuse, some physical abuse and violence, and seeing and hearing all that and having that dark little secret in the back of my closet, that skeleton in my closet that I'm ashamed of, that is huge for me. It explains so many things to me. It explains to me why it is that there are certain situations in which I would drink and then drink excessively because I couldn't stop myself from drinking. And these situations or these environments would be, A, where I was kind of alone, nobody's really with me, and B, where I feel very comfortable and I feel independent. I don't need anybody else, right? Yeah. So that's what happened, guys. I mean, that's what happened with the drinking for me. I have had a couple drinks since then. We went out to a real nice Mexican restaurant with Booley, and I did have a tequila there. We went over to Booley's another night, my wife and I, and we hung out with her and played records and stuff and had a great time. And I did have some really rare Belgian ale, cherry one, Le Chouffe, that I'd never seen before. So I grabbed that 4-pack of that, and I drank 3 of those. I think I drank the next one the next day. But they're pretty light. You know, it almost tastes like cherry soda, to be honest with you. Other than that, I haven't drank. You know, probably going on 2 months here pretty soon. So here's my deal is, you know, I'm just going to come clean here, guys, and tell you what happened. Pardon me if I get upset. But what happened is this. I went to meet my boy Mikey at Carmen's. We thought PP might come along, but he couldn't really make it. And so Mikey and I hung out. We ate some lunch, had a couple drinks, and then he left. And he assumed I was leaving at that time too, but I wasn't. I stayed there, and I proceeded to drink more and more and more, to the point where, I had all these bar buddies hanging out with me, and I spent way too much. I don't even remember what my bar tab was. So I was buying him drinks, buying other people drinks that I was talking to. And then, in that state, I drove home, or started to drive home. So I was definitely intoxicated at that point. Then, on the way home, being intoxicated and feeling all this toxic shame, I decided to punish myself even more, and get angry with my wife. And get angry with her because she wanted our stepdaughter to come over and hang out that night. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons that I was holding grudges against my stepdaughter. Let's just say that there is some justification for it, but you really shouldn't hold grudges against anyone. And you certainly shouldn't put yourself in a position where you're damaging relations with your family because of it, right? Because if that's the case, I mean, who are you really punishing, right? You're punishing yourself. So, long story short, I drove off to some other deal because we never go out and sing karaoke. I like singing karaoke. So I drove to this place that I knew had karaoke, and got up there and sang and hung out at the bar with people there and drank a beer, and it was ugly, man. It was really ugly. My wife was worried about me, wanting me to come home, or wanting to come pick me up, and long story short, I did sing karaoke, but it didn't go very well. Nobody gave a shit about Frank Sinatra because they're fucking ignorant, probably. But that's beside the point. I was ignorant to begin with. And, I drove on home. I was in a rage. I was angry. Still angry about the fact that my wife wanted to have her over and hang out and stuff, despite a lot of bad things that she's been involved in and done, and hurt herself and us and others. And mad because, we never do what I want to do. I want to go sing karaoke. Why don't we go sing karaoke? And we always never do it, right? I think I figured out why that night, to be honest with you. And when I was at the bar too, I got up to go sing, and I was sitting in this one seat at the bar. And then when I was done singing, I came back and sat down, grabbed my seat and sat down. And I had a couple African-American gentlemen. One of them started kind of like, "Hey, man, why don't you come back and just grab that seat like it's yours?" I was like, "Well, it is mine, dude. I was sitting here before I got up and went and sang." And this dude was kind of starting to hassle with me. But I wisened up enough to just say, "Hey, man, here you go, take the chair. I don't care. I can stand. I'm sorry about that. Meant no disrespect to you, because I don't go around disrespecting people. Let me get your beers. And I took care of their beers. And then I just came home. Super angry and super upset. And that led to a big argument at my house with my wife. And she had taken her daughter home, my stepdaughter home. And it ended up really bad, guys. Bad enough that I scared my daughter enough that she called the police. And at that point, you know, I realized what I was doing and how stupid it was and all that stuff. And I just said, yeah, okay, I'm just going to go outside. Here's my keys and my wallet and stuff. I'll just go outside and wait for the police. I'm sorry, everybody. And I went out and waited for them to show up. They showed up. They were very nice. Of course, they did have to handcuff me. First time I've ever been handcuffed, other than joking around, like for a Halloween costume or something. And then they also saw it fit to take me to the emergency room for evaluation that night. So, yeah, I got to ride in the back of the truck as well. The back of the police car, handcuffed. It sucked. I didn't get arrested, which is great. There's nothing on my record or anything like that, but what a fucking dumbass, right? That's what ultimately led to me stopping drinking. The very next day, I talked to both my kids and apologized to them. I told my daughter how proud I was of her for being brave enough to just call the police because I was being ridiculous, and I'm so sorry. I told my son how sorry I was. I've told my wife thousands of times how sorry I am. But when I talked to my therapist about it, we discussed this toxic shame stuff. And that's what it is, guys. That's what got me to that spot. Self-hatred and self-shame over things that I really don't have much control over. I mean, all I can do is try to control what happens from here on in my life and make good decisions. So I will have drinks again. I will still enjoy tequila. I probably will have a couple too many tequilas every once in a while. But I will not go back to that place and drink alone ever again. I will not take out this toxic shame and rage and all that stuff on my family ever again. And I will not behave like that anymore. I refuse to be a part of this any longer. So I'm making changes. Anyway, that's where the whole toxic shame thing came in. I wasn't going to tell you guys all that stuff because I am embarrassed by it, and I feel really bad. Because one thing that I'm very proud of being is in love with my wife and a husband to her, and I'm also very proud of being a father. And I really let my kids down that night. And so I just got to move past it because there's nothing I can do about the past. Just like Mikey said, the past is in our minds. That's where it lives, right? Even history books are written based upon what's in our minds. The future is uncertain. It's hypothetical. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen. We try to make decisions to plan for it. But the only thing that's real is right now. And so that's where I want to live for now. I want to also, of course, plan for my future and the future of my family, my kids. But I can't live in the past anymore. I can't associate with that 11-year-old boy who kind of got fucked over by his father. Even though I know that's not what he intended. He was just a miserable person, and I get that. And I feel for him. I wish that mental health care would have been as big as it is now back then, and as acceptable as it is now back then. Because I've often thought to myself, I know how he felt. I know what he was going through somewhat. I don't know exactly why. He had a really rough family life growing up. So you see where the toxic shame becomes hereditary? So, after I told my therapist about this event and everything, and it's the event that keeps on going, by the way, because it's an over $4,000 bill for that night going to the emergency room, and the insurance company won't cover any of it because we're still under our deductible. Well, I should say we're no longer under our deductible. We've actually met our deductible in March. Usually we haven't made our deductible until at least August or September. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, this behavior of mine. Again, not much I can do about it except try and be a better person now and in the future. So that's where I'm at. And that's the whole thing about toxic shame. I put myself there by feeling this way and continuing to do things the way that I've always done them, and to do things the way that I've always seen them done. What I showed my kids and my family that night is not good. When I was a kid, I was shown that a lot. When my mom and my uncle and my aunt were kids, they were shown that even more than I was shown that. When my grandparents were kids, they were shown that probably even more than they were. So that's the point. The point is that when you live with that toxic shame and you walk around feeling, unworthy of things and feeling bad about the past things that other people did and embarrassed by those, you can get to the point where you have so much anger and rage inside of you that you can fuck up your current life. I'm very fortunate that my family, my wife, and both of my kids understand that I made a mistake, and I'm very sorry for it, and that I love them dearly, guys. I love them more than anything I've ever loved. My wife is the best part of my life, man. And my kids are right there too. And I almost fucked that up because I'm still hung up on shit that happened in 1980, man. It's pretty stupid. But understanding how that works now helps me move past that. I've been going to see a therapist for years, guys. I mean, I got divorced in 1999. And I spent a cool 5 years or so feeling pretty shitty about myself, living pretty recklessly, doing dumb stuff. And I started seeing therapists then a lot. I'd seen therapists before, but I started really seeing a therapist then. And I've been seeing therapists off and on ever since then. And it has helped. I mean, coming on here and talking to you guys and just spilling all this out makes me feel better. I'm not telling you guys that so you feel like, oh, poor Kyle. Oh, his poor family. That's not why I'm talking about it. I'm telling you guys this because, A, it's good for people to understand that this stuff exists out there. And B, it makes me feel better to say it out loud. It makes it less of an issue for me and less impactful if I talk about it. So do that too, man. If you've got issues, go see a therapist. Tell them you want to talk about toxic shame if you're feeling that way. Not everybody is. All right, so that toxic shame thing was a big eye-opener. I didn't mean for the second part of this podcast to be about that. I didn't mean to go into all that stuff. It is sad, but it's also okay because it's an awakening, and I'm a different person from now on. My goal in life now is to help my family be happy and make themselves happy, and to help them make decisions that make them happy, and to enjoy the rest of my life with the person I love so much, which is my wife. I know sounds like I'm being a big kiss ass fucker in this. I'm not, guys. That's how I feel. That's the honest truth. All right, let's get off that subject. I'm not even going to take another commercial break. It probably would make sense because we're almost at an hour here already. But let's go ahead and start talking about some things that I'm into right now. So let's talk about the thrift store run yesterday. You know I went and looked at records, right? Of course I did. My daughter was looking at like curling irons and clothes. And of course I'm peeling through all the gospel records, because if you ever have been a fan of gospel music, you totally should get into vinyl, because you're going to have 10,000 records and all of them together are going to cost you about $20. All right, maybe more than that. But I'm not kidding when I say that when you are in a thrift store, at least 80% of all the records there are gospel. So I would imagine this has to do with the decline of organized religion in society in the United States. I'm guessing that's what it is. Like, grandparents and parents have died. There's all these records. Grandma and grandpa or mom and dad had all these gospel records. And so they just take them to the thrift store. Because there are so many of them, man. The funniest thing I saw yesterday was and not funny haha, but kind of funny haha, I saw several of them that were still sealed. I mean, they're from the 1960s. For sure, late 60s, sealed. Insane. I'll put a picture of one of them in the photos for this week. But peeling through a bunch of those, flipping through them, getting that musty smell in my nose because I know where I'm at. You know, getting in the zone. What do I come across? Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. Now, I already bought a Nazareth Greatest Hits album, and it's all right. I mean, it's got Hair of the Dog on it, right? But I really liked the album cover for Hair of the Dog, you know, with the dragon on the front of it. I love that artwork, and it's one of those album covers that a lot of people know who are from that time, right? So I find it in there, and I'm like, wow, dude, pull it out. I'm like, all right, it's probably scratched to shit, because I've only seen that album, I think, 2 other times, and both times it was way overpriced. Like, I'm talking like $15 or more. And then inside the record was just scratched to shit. The reason it's priced that high, it's still too high, guys. Even if, I mean, I wouldn't pay $1. I wouldn't pay 50 cents for a record that's not listenable. I don't care how nice the cover is, right? Wait, let me take that back. If I already have the record at home and the cover's beat to shit, but the vinyl inside is perfect, I may buy a record cover for $1 or $2 with the album inside crappy. But that's not the case here, because there's no way I was ever going to spend $15 on a record that's scratched to shit. And the album cover wasn't in that great shape. That was at Vintage Stock, dude. Vintage Stock is kind of a ripoff. I'll be honest with you. I mean, sometimes I go in there because they're too fucking stupid about music. Sorry, not everybody at Vintage Stock is, but some people are. They know about as much about music, in my opinion, as the teenage dude at Best Buy knows about anything, electronics especially. He might know video games really well, but when it comes to vinyl or stereo equipment or a refrigerator or a smartwatch, sorry, man, they don't know shit. So, I come across Nazareth Hair of the Dog. Look, Salvation Army, the red Shield thrift stores, they're overpriced too a little bit, especially when it comes to. Let me pause. All right, so sorry about that. I got a phone call there. I got about an hour left to get home there. I mean, I don't have an hour left to get home. I have an hour until I get home. So that was my wife. She's just got something else she's doing, and then she was asking me to take a look for something on my way home, which I'm going to do here in a minute. So I come across that record, man, and pull it out, and it's in perfect condition. I mean, the sleeve is in perfect condition. The inside liner sleeve is in perfect condition. And that's another thing, dude. I'm not worried about paper sleeves scratching up my record. You know how long that would take? I'm not going to worry about it, man. People stress about it and all that. Look, I buy records because I like listening to music on vinyl. That's it. I'm not buying them to collect them to make money off of them or to have a collection that's worth $40,000 or whatever. I don't care about that. I'm buying them because I like listening to music on vinyl. All right. Anyway, so I picked that up, man. I think it was like $6.99, right? But then they had a sale, so it was on sale. But it's in great shape. So I got that yesterday. Can't wait to go home and listen to it. So that's it for music. Nothing else really much there. What else? What have I been watching? Oh, we started watching DMZ last night. That's the new Vertigo DC show that's on HBO Max. Rosario Dawson's in it. Lou Diamond Phillips is in it. I think it's Ava DuVernay or whatever. She's directed and wrote it or whatever. But it's based on a comic series on Vertigo, which is a DC franchise that I want to say had 72 issues, so like 6 years worth of issues. I never read it, but it is very interesting. And so we started watching that last night. I'll put a trailer in the notes, and you guys can go check it out. I'm all caught up on Raised by Wolves. Actually, the 8th episode, I think, was the last episode for this season, which is interesting because they did kind of leave it open for a third season. So maybe they've already secured that. I don't know. I'll have to check that out online. That's about it. I can't really think of anything else. Oh, The Batman will be on HBO Max starting on April 11th, I believe. I'm looking forward to that. I want to watch it again. I also want to watch Dune again, but I might wait a year on that just because I'll watch it when the second part is coming up soon. And I haven't bought it on 4K Blu-ray, and the reason why is I know when the second one comes out, they're going to have a box set, so I'm just going to wait for that. Yeah, so that's that. Comics, I haven't really read much. We're getting closer to Moon Knight. I'm excited about that. That's about it, guys. Not really much else going on. I probably need to start talking about podcasts on here, other than mine, of course. But there are some podcasts that I listen to that I really love, and I think I'll start talking about that next episode because I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, there's lots of them that I listen to that I like. Mr. Ballin has a podcast now. I love Mr. Ballin on YouTube, and of course now on with his podcast. There's some I've been listening to forever, but I've taken a break from. I'm a real freaking true crime horror when it comes to podcasts. I can tell you that right now. But Mikey is too, and we've actually talked to Pee-Pee about it last night a little bit. And we said, dude, you got to, because he's got about a 15, 20-minute drive to work. We're like, start listening to podcasts. Because we talked a lot about, on the radio, they just play the same shit over and over again. And because I was talking about Lenny Kravitz. I like Lenny Kravitz. We were talking about Zoe Kravitz. And both of those guys are like, I hate him. And I'm like, what? Well, of course they do. Because they've heard, I want to get away. I want to fly away, fly, fly. They've heard that song 5 gazillion times because it's fucking overplayed, man. But when the excuse was, well, dude, he's overplayed. It's overplayed. And even Are You Gonna Go My Way was overplayed. Okay. Yeah, that's true. But if we're going to discount bands and say they suck because they're overplayed, wow, the Eagles must be the worst band of all time next to Fleetwood Mac. You know? Or wait, hold on. That first Guns N' Roses album, Appetite for Destruction, must be the worst album of all time. Yeah. Or the first Van Halen album. Or 1984 by Van Halen. You know? Or the Black Album by Metallica. Dude, all those albums are great. And AC/DC. All those albums are great. And so are the first 2 to 3 Lenny Kravitz records. He was on the right track there, making great music. Even had his buddy from high school, Slash, play on a song or two. But the problem is these artists get overplayed. And so anyway, he was talking about, well, I need to do something besides, but I don't really have a playlist. I don't take the time to do it. And I just said, dude, you got to start listening to podcasts, man. And Mikey and I go on about podcasts all the time. And so maybe he'll give that a shot. We'll see. But I want to talk about it on here a little bit. So I'm going to start throwing that into what I'm listening to. As far as music, I'm going to throw podcasts in there starting next time. That's it, guys. Hey, look, I'm glad you guys have listened to this whole episode. I'm sorry it got a little sad there, but that's the honest truth. And I'm not going to try and pussyfoot around it. That's what happened. That's what I did. I am very sorry for it. And I will do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen again. Because I'm going to work on myself. And I'm going to let some of this shit go from the past, man. All of it, really. So that's it. I appreciate you guys listening again. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep putting these out again because I enjoy I'm obviously a chatty Cathy and I like talking. But I enjoy the fact when you guys let me know that you enjoy it as well. So reach out and let me know that too, by the way. We're at the Dad Snark on Twitter. Of course, we have the Dad Snark podcast page on Facebook. Or you can, send a message through anchor.fm through the Dad Snark page on there. You can send a message directly that way too. And I think it's dadsnark@gmail.com also. So reach out and let me know what you think, or if you want to talk about something or you want me to talk about something, let me know, man. I know I've said this 100 times and nobody's ever really done it. I have had a few people contact me and tell me thanks for talking about, like when I started talking about depression. So that's cool. It makes me realize that, not only am I helping myself, but if people listen and enjoy and they can stand listening to me for that long, okay, self-deprecating humor, sorry. But if they want to listen to it, maybe I can help them too with stuff that I've learned. I'm not saying I'm great and I can help everybody. I'm saying that I've gotten help for certain things. Maybe I can spread that information and other people can get help too. So I appreciate you guys listening, man. I will let you know how this computer turns out next week. I'm actually going to take a few pictures of it and show you guys. And that's it. There's really nothing else. It's a beautiful day outside. It's like 55. I think it's going to be 75 today, which is crazy because it was like 30 degrees 2 days ago. But, so the grass is growing. I've seen plants coming out. And, oh, yeah, get off my lawn.